Hello. Let's talk about bread for just a minute. Bread making does not have to be difficult at all. I don't do very many really difficult things. It doesn't have to be time consuming and it doesn't have to be mysterious. My grandmother used her bread making skills during the Depression to help her family make it through, not only for their own use, but she had a regular customer route for cinnamon rolls and for homemade bread. And my dad would take the bread and the rolls to the customers. He was just a young boy, and collect the money, and she would use that money to resupply herself with yeast and flour and sugar and all her baking supplies. Then she went about making cookies for the neighborhood. My dad said she never made a batch less than 400 cookies at a time so that the neighbor kids could all have cookies. So she found great joy and satisfaction in baking. She was known far and wide for her, not just her bread and her rolls, but for food in general. So I got my food person uh, qualities from my grandmother. Everything pretty much on this channel is going to be about food. It's about making sure that you have food when you need food and making sure that you can enjoy the food that you love without carrying around extra weight. That's another topic for another day. We're going to talk about the bread. I want to share with you a recipe. I'm not going to be demonstrating this today. I hope to do a demonstration at a future point in time, but this is so simple it really doesn't need a demonstration. So if you want to grab an ink pen, I will go over these quantities again during the recipe and then again at the end, but there's going to be two separate groups. The first group goes into a small bowl, and that's a half a cup of warm water. I use very warm water because my yeast is usually in the freezer. 2 cups of, oh, excuse me, let me start over. In a small bowl, half a cup of very warm water, 2 tablespoons of yeast, 1 tablespoon of sugar. I'll give you a minute to write that down. Half a cup of warm water, 2 tablespoons of yeast, and 1 tablespoon of sugar. This bread recipe is one that I have taught to groups before. Very, very simple. It doesn't take much time. There's no kneading. It makes 2 good-sized loaves, long loaves like French loaves of bread. You don't even need to have a bread pan. You just need a cookie sheet. And it can be done all in one mixer bowl. A mixer as strong as a KitchenAid mixer is good enough. You can actually do most of the mixing with a regular mixer. It doesn't have to be KitchenAid. So that's the first set of ingredients. The second set of ingredients is 2 cups of very hot water. 2 cups of very hot water. 5 tablespoons of sugar, or you can use a quarter cup and 1 tablespoon. It's the same measurement. 2.5 teaspoons of salt. And then the flour, you don't need bread flour. It's nice to have it. The warehouse clubs carry 25-pound sacks of bread flour. You may like this well enough that you may start buying your flour in 25-pound sacks. So it's going to be 3 cups of flour and then 3 more cups of flour. So you'll have 6 cups altogether, but it's added at 2 different times. So this is fragrant, wonderful bread. There's nothing that is more wonderful than walking into a house that has the smell of fresh bread in the oven. You really don't have to wait very long to let it cool. A few minutes is fine. If you prefer to try it in a bread pan, I have a friend that does that. You can put part whole wheat flour if you want. So here are the directions. In a small bowl, you combine a half a cup of very warm water with 2 tablespoons of yeast. You can use instant yeast or not. Doesn't matter if you buy it in bulk. It's way cheaper. 1-pound packages are larger. And a tablespoon of sugar. So in a small bowl, a half a cup of warm water, 2 tablespoons of yeast, and a tablespoon of sugar. You want it more than lukewarm, but not hot. Like I said, I use mine a little hotter because my yeast is in the freezer. Yeast will keep a very, 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 very long time in your freezer. I have a friend, I will probably repeat this in another video. I have a friend that had yeast packaged in a number 10 can that actually lasted her more than 25 years. In a large bowl or in your KitchenAid mixer bowl, or a bowl large enough to hold 6 cups of flour, in a large bowl you're going to put your 2 cups of hot water, your 5 tablespoons of sugar, or a quarter cup and a tablespoon is the same thing, 2.5 teaspoons of salt, or you can just take a tablespoon and not fill it quite all the way, and then the 3 cups of flour. Now you can either do this by hand or with your mixer. It's going to be a fairly soupy mixture, so it's not going to put a lot of strain on your mixer. 5 minutes. Beat this in those. You're going to mix the first 3 ingredients in the small bowl together. Then the 2 cups of hot water, the 5 tablespoons of sugar, the 2.5 teaspoons of salt, and 3 of the cups of flour together in the large bowl, and keep that other 3 cups of flour set aside. So right now you're going to have a small bowl that's going to start to foam. Mix up the yeast a little in there. It's going to start to foam, to proof your yeast to make sure it's active and living. Then you're going to have your large bowl with all the ingredients in it, except for the other 3 cups of flour. So your other 3 cups of flour is in waiting. You're going to mix it either by hand or with a mixer for just 5 minutes. This pretty much takes the place of the kneading. So at the end of the 5 minutes, then you're going to take your small bowl of ingredients, which is foaming now, right? And dump that in with your big bowl of wet ingredients. They're all mixed up. Now mix that fairly well. And then to that, you're going to add your second 3 cups of flour. And this is the easy part. You wait 10 minutes. You cover it with a damp cloth. Wait 10 minutes and go by and punch it down. Or if it's in your mixer, if it's in a stand, a mixer with a stand, you can just turn the mixer on for about 4 seconds and turn it off. 10 minutes later, you come by and do it again. 10 minutes later, you come by and do it again. And then at the end of 4 times, you're going to knock it down, knock the rise down 4 different times. It'll rise, you knock it down. It rises, you knock it down. Do that 4 times. At the end of those 4 times, I put butter on my hands. You don't have to do that. You can put flour on your hands. You can spray the loaves with a little bit of some nonstick spray. But I take this bulk piece of dough, and you're going to divide it into, just kind of pinch it and pull it apart. Divide it into 2 loaves, and then you're just going to start patting it into a French loaf shape, about like, yeah, it'll probably be about 10, 11, 12 inches long and about 4 inches across. You should be able to fit 2 of these on an average size cookie sheet. So I put the butter on my hands, shape these 2 loaves. This is really simple. You can't hardly mess it up. You have to really mess up. You have to really make a mistake to screw this bread up, because it will come out just fine. Take the butter, put it on your hands, or some flour and put it on your hands. Shape your loaves like about 10 or 12 inches, about 4 inches across. It should make 2 loaves, or you can make 3 smaller loaves. It should fit on an average size cookie sheet. It even will fit in my convection oven on a, I don't know what size the cookie sheet is, 10 by 15, something like that. So shape your loaves and make sure that you either spray a little strip of cooking spray or a little bit of butter or something on the bottom. And at this point, if you didn't use the butter and you want a harder crust, you can spray it with water, or you can put egg white on it. I prefer to just use a little butter, and it doesn't have the hard crust that's hard on your teeth. And then you're going to let this rise until it's double in size, and bake about 20 to 25 minutes at 350 degrees. You don't even really need to preheat the oven. And then until it's lightly golden brown. It should become very fragrant when the bread is done. And you might want to let it cool just a few minutes. You can butter the crust when it's done if you want to, and then enjoy it. This bread is better when eaten fresh, but I gave some to one of my friends recently, and she ate it a couple, 2 or 3 days later and still just loved it. It reheats really nicely in the microwave if you don't overdo it. So there's such a wonderful security in knowing that you have ingredients on hand that you can make into something that everybody will love. People just rave over this bread. It's very simple. Sugar, salt, flour. Not a lot of sugar, really. Not a lot of salt, really. Sugar, flour, salt, yeast, and white flour. You can use bread flour if you have it. It's not necessary. The last time I made it, I used Golden Metal all-purpose flour. I like the Spartan brand bread flour. I have used the Warehouse Club flours. They're all fine. You can use all-purpose flour. It's not a problem. I'm over 10 minutes. I try not to do that. This bread is worth the 10 minutes you spent listening. So I will go over this one more time if I'm off my page. The small bowl has a half a cup of very warm water. You don't want it lukewarm. You want it warm. 2 tablespoons of yeast, a tablespoon of sugar. The large bowl has 2 cups of very hot water, 5 tablespoons of sugar, 2½ teaspoons of salt, 3 cups of flour, another 3 cups of flour set aside. You can't go wrong. All the 3 ingredients in the first small bowl, you mix them up together. They will foam while you're mixing up the second ingredients. You pour the yeast mixture into the first set of ingredients. Add your extra 3 cups of flour. Shape them into loaves. Put them on the cookie sheet. Bake them at 350 till they're lightly golden brown, and you'll be in heaven. The last few weeks I have been doing, before Christmas actually, I did large batches of cookie dough. I did one batch of cookie dough after another, and then I did a double batch of blueberry muffins after that. And then in the same mixer bowl, I did a double batch of chocolate fudge brownies. I'm going to talk about this in an upcoming video. Not that I'm any smarter than anybody else, but I just thought it was so cool. I did kind of a baking day and had cookie dough in my freezer for many, many cookie sessions. The recipe I used for oatmeal chocolate chip cookies can be used for oatmeal scotchies. I did mint chocolate chip cookies with it. You can use the white chips in it. It can be used for oatmeal raisin cookies with just adding a little cinnamon and raisins. And so I'll go over that in another video hopefully soon. And the concept, I didn't even have to clean my mixer bowl in between. The concept of doing one batch behind another. There was nothing in there that was incompatible. If you do it in the right order, you can do batch after batch and put your mixer bowl in your dishwasher when you're done. And it takes 5 minutes to clean up. As long as you're pulling out all those supplies, you may as well make good use of the mess. So I just had a ball doing that. I hope to do demonstrations in the future, but like I said, I'm going to need a little bit of help. All I have is this one little, what do you call it? Webcam. I have this one little webcam, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not any smarter than anybody else. I just have things that I'd like to share, and if I can save you the footwork of running around gathering the information, then that would be great. So it's Molly Mormon saying goodbye for now. Have a great night, and enjoy your bread.